Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 10-team PPR mock draft from the 9th overall spot using FantasyPro's Draft Wizard. The roster positions for today's mock draft are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex spots, a kicker defense, and 6 bench spots. We're going to be drafting up against the expert consensus rankings on FantasyPros, as well as the composite ADP from ESPN, NFL Sleeper, and RT Sports. I did make an adjustment to the position value of wide receivers, bumping it from normal to high, because this year, unlike in prior seasons, wide receivers are going to be going a lot earlier and a lot more often in drafts. But before we can get into this mock draft, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. While you're down there, make sure you leave a like on today's video as well. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into this 10-team PPR mock draft from the 9th overall spot. So obviously, there is some news that we need to talk about. Zeke joins the Patriots. This, to me, was a good move, not necessarily for Ramondre's value, but it was good because now Ramondre's value isn't sunken by Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt showing up, a running back that could actually take away a decent chunk of potential receptions or carries from Ramondre Stevenson. I get the news isn't perfect for Ramondre. It does kind of move him in my rankings, but it doesn't make me completely scared and make me way too nervous to draft him, right? I still think Ramondre Stevenson is fine in the 3rd round. But the huge news obviously came with Dalvin Cook signing with the Jets. I talked about this in a video last night, breaking down my exact instant reaction to what happened, and my instant reaction is exactly how I feel right now. This is not good for Breece Hall. This might mean that Breece Hall could potentially miss the first couple of games, or maybe they use the just the tip technique and they ease him in. Maybe Dalvin Cook is the guy getting 60% of the snaps, 70% of the snaps the first couple of weeks of the season, and Breece Hall's ADP is going to plummet. Right now, he is a clear stay away for me until his ADP settles, and then I guess we can talk about it some more. But right now, I am incredibly nervous to draft Breece Hall, and I think Dalvin Cook's ADP is going to move up a bunch, and Dalvin Cook for the first couple of weeks might be a fantastic start. So if you draft him acknowledging that, hey, maybe this isn't a guy I feel super confident playing every single week, but I want to play him the first couple of weeks, I can definitely get that thought process. So draft begins here. Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Austin Eckler, Tyreek Hill, Saquon Barkley, Cooper Kupp, and Travis Kelce. If you guys have watched my 10-team drafts before, you would know that my 10-team draft strategy is similar to my 8-team draft strategy, right? In 10-team leagues, every single team basically is going to be loaded to the gills with talent. Even the fantasy league mate you have that is an idiot probably ends up drafting a team that is really good because there's only 10 teams. There is much less opportunity to completely mess everything up compared to a 12-team league where a couple of weeks into the season, the bad fantasy player might not even have a competent running back to start 5 weeks into the season. So what I like to do is load up on a potential early round tight end and early round quarterback, right? Get one of those elite tight ends, the elite quarterbacks that can help propel you over your opponents, because everyone's going to have great running backs, everyone's going to have great receivers, but not everyone's going to have an elite tight end or an elite quarterback. So Travis Kelce is a huge target of mine in the 1st round, but at the 109, your odds of getting him are slim to none. He could go as high as pick 4 in a 10-team league, so it's obviously, you just got to be hopeful to the fantasy gods that he falls to you at the 109, but that was not the case today. So since we're not going to be able to get that upper echelon tight end in Travis Kelce, I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to reach on a guy like Mark Andrews. Even in the 2nd round, I just don't feel comfortable doing so, and it seems pretty unlikely based upon how ADP is right now that Andrews falls to us in the 3rd round. Maybe we can pray to the football gods that Mahomes, Allen, or Hurts falls back to us. So looking at the board right now, to me, it's either one player or the other. It's either Bijan or Stephon Diggs. You could really pick either of them at this spot, and I wouldn't judge you for the Atlanta running back Bijan Robinson. This is a guy that's going to see a lot of carries. This is a team that is very run heavy, and I think he has some decent pass catching upside. Stephon Diggs is in one of the best offenses in the NFL with one of the best quarterbacks. Josh Allen struggled a bit last year after his injury, but he appears to be fully healthy going into this season, and that adds add some even further upside to Diggs. So again, you can go either way here. I do see more of a fall off though at running back if we potentially get cucked out of two of the guys, right? Because if we don't draft Bijan, and then Bijan and Tony Pollard goes, I guess I'd be okay with Nick Chubb because I have Nick Chubb ranked ahead of Tony Pollard. But if they go Bijan and Nick Chubb, I'm going to be a little disappointed. So I think the safe approach here would be to go with Bijan Robinson, and then after that, just see how things fall to us because I like a lot of the wide receivers that are still available and view them in a very similar light. So after we went ahead and drafted Bijan Robinson, Stephon Diggs and CeeDee Lamb come off of the board. So this leaves us in an interesting situation. Normally, I don't like to in the first 2 rounds go with 2 running backs. I like to have more of a balanced approach, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver. But in this scenario, 2 running backs have fallen to me that I think could finish as the number 1 running back in fantasy football. I think Tony Pollard has that upside. I think Chubb has that upside. I think the fact that Zeke signed with the Patriots tells me that now, obviously, Zeke can't come back to the Dallas Cowboys, which was a slight worry of mine. So Tony Pollard could be wheels up to see a boatload of touches. Nick Chubb in a great situation in Cleveland. I think Watson plays better. I think he has more pass-catching upside with Hunt gone. You could pick either one of these guys. I wouldn't mind taking Devontae Adams or Amon-Ra St. Brown here either, but I think I'm going to go double running back. A lot of the times in the second round, I go with Nick Chubb, so I do want to diversify my teams, right? Because you don't want to draft Nick Chubb every single time in the second round, regardless of how much I love 9-inch Nicholas Chubb this season. If he was to get hurt, he would sink the spaceship, the boat, the Titanic of all of our teams. So we're going to go with Tony Pollard here in the second round. Again, legitimate top 3, number 1 running back upside. This guy is in a fantastic situation. After putting his John Hancock on that franchise tag, they want to run Tony Pollard into the dirt. We saw last year a kind of similar situation with Josh Jacobs, right? They don't give him his 5th-year option, so they give him 1 million touches, 1 million carries, 1 million receptions, and it worked out great for Josh Jacobs. Now, I don't think Tony Pollard can take a crazy high workload, so I hope he's not getting like 20 carries a game, and they use Deuce Vaughn, these other running backs like Malik Davis behind him, but I really do think Tony Pollard is in an excellent situation this year. Sadly, though, they did lose their best center in Ezekiel Elliott. You remember that playoff game against the Niners, right? Zeke is basically better than any center in the NFL. After Tony Pollard, we see Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Jones, Mark Andrews, Jahmyr Gibbs, Pat Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, as well as Josh Allen. So this is basically the wet dream scenario. I get 2 running backs that I think could easily finish number 1 and number 2 at the position, and Jalen Hurts has fallen to us. Now, I know in some leagues, Jalen Hurts might be gone by the end of the second round, but I think in your more sharp league, Jalen Hurts might fall to you at the 3.09. He is my number 1 ranked quarterback for this season. The rushing upside's insane. The offensive line is a brick fucking wall. He has A.J. Brown. He has Devontae Smith. He has Dallas Goedert. He has DeAndre Swift. Penny. He's got Kenneth Gainwell, lots of guys to throw the ball to. I'm a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. That rushing upside is so big for fantasy football. He could rush for 1,000 rushing yards. Now, is that the most likely scenario? Fuck no, baby. But is it possible? 100%. 760 rushing yards in 2022. 784 in 2021. He could get 10-plus rushing touchdowns. He's done that in both of the last 2 seasons. I'm a huge fan of this Eagles team, and I think that Jalen Hurts was a lock for me to be picked there. Again, it says it's a slight reach. He was going to fall to us. But how was I supposed to know that? I have Jalen Hurts ranked as my QB1, so I'm ecstatic to get him at the 3.09 when someone drafted Pat Mahomes at the 3.03. Again, I don't think Mahomes is a bad player. Allen's a bad player. They're my top 3 quarterbacks, but I just like the range that I got Jalen Hurts at. So looking at the running back position, it is amazing that we already have our 2 running backs. Because now we don't have to potentially get trapped into Breece Hall. Breece Hall goes at the 4.01, waddled away, waddle at the 3.10. But these are running backs where things are kind of gross, right? Do you really want to draft ETN in the 4th round with all of these positive notes, all these positive rumors about Travis Etienne's teammate, Hank Bigsby? Do you really want to draft Miles Sanders, knowing that Miles Sanders right now, based upon what I read, he's dealing with a groin injury, right? You don't want to chase injuries. Now, a week from now, we hear, hey, Miles Sanders is going to be good to go. Then I won't panic. But you don't want to chase those injuries down, because the injuries are going to find you in a back alley with a lock in the sock. They're going to hit you upside the head. They're going to take you for everything you own. It hurts. Injuries happen every year, so don't just dive into the injuries, right? Again, if Miles Sanders is fine a week from now, then forget about it, what I said, right? But right now, there's reason to worry. Again, I don't want Travis Etienne. I like the upside Kenneth Walker, not in the 4th round. I like Akers. I like Madison, not in the 4th round. Especially in a 10-team league, right? We're only at pick 32 right now. So it's very clear to me. We already have Hurts. We could go with Hawkinson, but while I do think Hawkinson's a good player, he just seems like a safe pick, right? I don't think Hawkinson with Justin Jefferson, with Jordan Addison Ray, that Hawkinson's going to finish as a top 2 tight end. I think Kittle could outscore him. Waller could outscore him. Pitts could outscore him. And they go later. So I'd rather just wait on those guys and not take Hawkinson. Again, do I think Hawkinson's a bad pick? No, just kind of a safe option. Looking at best wide receivers available, Chris Olave, Devontae Smith, Keenan Allen, Higgins, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley. Chris Olave, his quarterback, Derek Carr, looks yoked. He looks huge. I don't know if anyone saw a picture of him. This dude has the fucking gun show attached to his 2 arms, right? And he looked good. Now, Chris Olave, I think he only had 1 target, no receptions. But that Saints offense looked good. Now, something you need to know. Don't overreact to 1 fucking preseason week. Don't blow your load watching the preseason game, because that's not what's going to happen most of the time during the regular season. But it's important to note that Carr looked a little bit better than I thought. Michael Thomas looked kind of good. Interesting. Michael Thomas ran a route and caught a pass, which wasn't a slant. Very interesting. I think still I have Calvin Ridley ranked the highest. Now, the question is, could we wait for Calvin Ridley? Probably not at this point, right? It seems like everyone and their mom's all in on Keenan Allen. I like Devontae Smith. I like Keenan Allen. I like Chris Olave. But Calvin Ridley, to me, is my wide receiver 12. I have him ranked the highest. I am in love with this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. I am in love with the upside that he has as the wide receiver 1 here. I'm a huge fan of Doug Peterson. I'm a huge fan of the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. This is the perfect situation for Calvin Ridley to be in. He looked good in that preseason game. He's looked good in every single training camp video I've seen of him. He doesn't look rusty. People said, Nick, Calvin Ridley's going to be rusty. Nick, he's not going to look like that old Calvin Ridley. It looked like the motherfucker hopped in a time machine back to the future with Marty McFly. He looks so good. I am huge onto Calvin Ridley this season. After Ridley, we see DK Metcalf, Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, Higgins, Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Chris Godwin, Deebo Samuel, Joe Shiesty, Alexander Madison, Damian Pierce, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy. I will tell you right now, if we didn't draft Jalen Hurts, I would be laughing right now as I select Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields. Again, 2 guys with huge rushing upsides in offenses that I think are going to be really solid this year. Monken's offense with Lamar Jackson, and then Justin Fields, the addition to DJ Moore, I think is going to be huge for him this season. And speaking of DJ Moore, he's available right now. Based upon that 1 play in preseason, right? Justin Fields basically dumped the ball off to DJ Moore, and this man took that thing 62 yards to the crib, to the house. Now, people overreact. I tell you not to overreact. I was already in on DJ Moore. I was very in on DJ Moore. I've told you guys that I think DJ Moore is going to smash. This is the best quarterback he's ever had. People are going to overreact. His ADP is going to continue to move. But I think that's fair because his ADP probably should have been higher than where it was initially, right? He was coming off the board as like wide receiver 26, 27 in some drafts. I'm a big fan of Justin Fields. And when you looked at Justin Fields coming out of college, there was so much hype about, look how great of a passer this guy is. But now that he's in the NFL, people are like, this motherfucker's a running back, right? Very funny how things work, right? After we went with Wiki, DJ Moore, we see TJ Hawkinson followed by DeAndre Hopkins. So while if we only took 1 running back, or we've had potentially 0 running backs up until the 6th round, I would be jumping all over Akers or James Conner. J.K. Dobbins activated off the PUP list, seemingly probable that he comes back to camp soon. So that's good for Dobbins. I still worry about Dobbins because I don't think they're going to be running the ball as much. I don't know if Dobbins is the same guy he was early on in his career. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe he's got these fresh legs. Maybe he's going to dig me a fucking grave out back. But at the end of the day, I'm still kind of staying away from him. I'm not saying to fully fade him, but he's a guy I'm a little nervous about. But again, we already have Bijan and Tony Pollard. There's no need to dilly-dally around here and select another running back in this range when we could wait until maybe the 7th round or potentially the 8th round, and guys like David Montgomery, James Cook could still be there. Dalvin Cook's ADP is going to rise. I don't think I'm going to take him in this video because we don't really know where his ADP is going to settle. But again, he could be a guy that's really huge for you the first couple of weeks if Breece Hall is potentially just benched or used very gingerly early on in the season. Again, you are paying Dalvin Cook out the asshole to be your running back. 1 year deal worth, of course they don't have how much money it was. It was like $8.3 million potentially. Kind of worrisome. Now again, I think that report said things positive about how Breece Hall will be 100% by week 1. Yeah, this doesn't bring confidence to that. I would agree. I would agree with that. That kind of scares me. We could see Dalvin versus James Cook, the battle of the Cooks in that game in Buffalo or New York. Doesn't matter. They're playing each other, though, week 1 on Monday Night Football. In case you cared, though, the game's in Gotham. It's in New York for week 1. So our team right now, Hurts, Robinson, Pollard, Ridley, Wiki, DJ Moore. We could go tight end here, but I'm feeling like tapping a bunch of wide receivers in a row. Pause. Drizzy, Drake, London, Terry McLaurin, Watson, Johnson, best available. McLaurin, to me, is the safety net pick, right? We know what he's going to do. He should be hopefully better with Sam Howell, but is McLaurin going to finish top 12? Maybe, but I like Jahan Dotson. So again, I don't hate Terry McLaurin. It's just, he just feels like a safe pick, right? He feels like if you've taken a bunch of risky wide receivers, guy you view as risky, or maybe you went heavy running back early, you drafted a quarterback and a tight end, then you just want that safety net in your team, you draft McLaurin. But for me, I'm looking for as much upside as possible. Drake London scares me to high heaven because I'm worried about Desmond Ridder, but I think London could pay dividends. He's an excellent wide receiver. But do I want to draft 2 guys on the Falcons offense and be playing them all the time? It'd be different if London was like on my bench and Bijan's playing all the time, but it's not, right? He'd be in my flex. Bijan's in my running back. Do I want to rely weekly on the Atlanta Falcons like that? The answer is no. So it's between Watson and Deontay Johnson. I have Watson ranked higher than Johnson. A lot of people seem to be worried about Watson. They poo-poo the idea of Jordan Love. Ultimately, Christian Watson was dominant. Absolutely dominating defenses last year. I get it. Nick, Aaron Rodgers is better than Jordan Love. No shit. But Aaron Rodgers that we saw last season wasn't all that great. We saw that Christian Watson was getting open. Seen a lot of reports out of camp that Watson is looking good. He's looking like the same receiver he was last year. Jordan Love is going to key in on Christian Watson. He's going to throw him the ball a ton, and I am elated. I am ecstatic that Christian Watson falls to me in the 6th round here. After Watson, we see Rachaad White, Tyler Lockett in my pocket skirt, Terry McLaurin, Mike Williams, George Kittle, Darren Waller, Lamar Jackson, Brandon Ayuk. The 7th opens with, sadly, David Montgomery, Christian Kirk, Alvin Kamara, Drizzy, Drake London, Justin Fields, Kyle Pitts, Trevor Lawrence, and Mike Evans. Interesting report I read that maybe Zay Jones is going to work in the 2 wide receiver sets ahead of Christian Kirk. Now, again, this might be fugazi. This might be a bunch of malarkey that you don't want to listen to. So I'm not saying that is 100% going to happen. But I read it on Twitter from a reputable source. I'm not saying you need to smash draft Zay Jones right now. You need to go into full-on panic mode about Christian Kirk. But it's just something to mention, right? When you're drafting a guy, that is something that would scare me. Now, it wouldn't scare me out of completely fading him, but it wouldn't make me as excited to draft him. Far from it. So we still do not have a tight end here. A couple of tight ends went, leaving us with Goddard as the best available tight end. I've talked about this as well. We're at pick number 69. Very nice. Make sure you guys hit that like button, that subscribe button down below. But Goddard is a lot like Hockenson. You draft Goddard, he's never really going to sink my fantasy football ship. Right? Never gonna get my battleship, knock it out. but he's also probably never going to hit the opponent with the 619 Rey Mysterio, right? He's never going to be the reason why I win my week. Now, he's never going to completely bend me over the table and fuck me relentlessly into the night without the use of lube, but what he's probably not going to do is lock in the sock my opponent, right? For some people, that's fine. For others, that's a little bit of no fun, right? Because again, he's safe, but there's other guys that have more upside than him. So that's kind of something I want to weigh. Now, I have Jalen Hurts, and I've talked about stacking in the past in these videos. I don't look into my draft going, I need to stack, right? Because then if you're like, I need to stack, then you're going to end up reaching, right? You draft Kelsey, then you're like, oh shit, I want to stack with Mahomes. Let me draft Mahomes at the 203 after I draft Kelsey, right? That's a reach to me. Or hey, I got AJ Brown. Let me come right back and swing things and get Jalen Hurts. Now, again, those two stacks could be dominant. They could be amazing, right? But I don't want to reach on those things. So the fact that Goddard has fallen into my lap here makes me more likely to take him. I'm not going into this draft thinking I need to stack. The stack, what it does is it adds a lot of upside, right? If Goddard has a great game, Hurts obviously had a great game as well. Now, running quarterbacks are a little bit more interesting because for Hurts to have a good game, Goddard doesn't necessarily need to do that well, right? Hurts could run for 90 yards and 2 tugs, and Goddard could be getting 7 fantasy points, right? But I think the added fact, the added upside of the stack is what weighs me towards going towards Dallas Goedert, even if I don't love Dallas Goedert as a player. Again, I don't think he's bad or anything. I just don't think in most weeks, right, he has the upside to swing 20 points, right? Swing for the fences, hit a fucking home run out the park, hit the Coke bottle at the Giants Stadium, right? In the San Francisco 49ers Giants Stadium. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Back in like MLB, I don't even know what the game was called. I think it was called like Bigs, back on the Wii or the PS2, and you'd hit the home run, it'd hit the Coke bottle and would start like flashing and shit. I remember that as a kid. If anyone played that, let me know in the comment section. So after Dallas Goedert, J.K. Dobbins, followed by DeAndre Swift. Now there's a lot of news about DeAndre Swift. There's people that are like, Kenny Gainwell didn't play in the first preseason game. He's going to be the starter. Nah, 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 nah. That's what people are saying. If you think Kenneth Gainwell is going to be the starting running back on this team, get your head checked, pal. That is not going to happen. So we're back up on the clock here. Very interesting because normally our strategy has guys on the bench before we have our quarterback and our tight end, but that's just how this draft fell. And that's, again, why you don't want to go into the draft thinking you need to do one thing. Thinking, hey, I need to use this strategy, because then you're putting yourself in a metaphorical box. You boxed yourself in to a strategy that might not fall your way. Especially like if you're like, hey, I need a quarterback in round 4. Well, if Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts, or say in round 3, right? And Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts just went, I don't want to take, I love Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson. I don't want to take them in the 4th round or the 3rd round, a pick after Hurts or a pick after Allen, right? And all those big 3 guys go. So try to keep your strategy not in a box, right? Keep a very open mind when you're entering your fantasy football drafts. We're up on the board here. To me, this is a no-brainer. I get that Akers and Connor, all this upside, but the way this league is set up, it's for you to start 4 receivers, really. It just is. It's PPR, Ridley, Moore, Watson, and Deontay Johnson. I know Pickens looked great in that preseason game, but let me tell you something. Deontay Johnson is the number 1 guy. I get Pickens is going to make these crazy plays. Pickens is going to make the highlight plays. Like the shit you see on ESPN Top 10 in the morning. The shit you see in a highlight reel to hype up the game the next week, right? Steelers, Browns, and you see fucking George Pickens go up there, do a 360 midair, throw the double birds like Nate Diaz, catch the ball in between his legs, whip out his intervention, do a 360 and no-scope someone like he's in FaZe Clan, right? But that's not what Johnson does. Johnson just catches the ball, and he catches the ball a lot, and he's going to be the number 1 target. Pickett looks better. The offensive line looks better. I want pieces of Deontay Johnson. The man only scored 0 touchdowns last year. For that, I believe it was 6, 7, and 8, and if it wasn't, it was 5, 6, and 7, something like that, right? He clearly scores touchdowns. Didn't do it last year. So much volume. Volume is king in fantasy football. I love Deontay Johnson. Now, it did say that at that pick, we got a value. Normally Johnson goes higher. So had Johnson not been available there, I would have either went with Michael Pittman or Hollywood Brown at that pick. So after Deontay Johnson, we see James Conner, followed by Cam Akers, Michael Pittman, Hollywood Brown, Dalvin Cook. I think his ADP is going to move past round 8. Now, I don't think it's going to crack like the top 4 rounds or something crazy like that, but could he be sitting around 7, close to Kamara? I think so. Maybe even overtaking Kamara. After Cook, George Pickens, Jackson Smith, Najigba, Javonte Williams. The 9th opens with Gabe Davis, Treylon Burks, Pacheco, Niners, Khalil Herbert, Jordan Addison-Ray, Jahan Dotson, and James Cook. Again, week 1, we're getting the battle of the Cooks. It's going to be like Hell's Kitchen out there in MetLife Stadium. So we're back up on the clock here. Our team to recap: Jalen Hurts, Brian Robinson, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Wiki, Dallas Goedert, Christian Watson, and Deontay Johnson, 2 DJs on the same team. So at some point, we have to take another running back. And I think this is the point right here, right? We don't need another tight end. We don't need another quarterback, right? So the rest of our picks are going to be running backs and wide receivers. Now, after Gibson, we get into a range where things are a little bit more dicey. I like Dillon, but I like him a little bit later as a handcuff with, if you're in a pinch, you can start him, but that's more of in like a 12-team league, right? In a pinch, in a 10-team league, do you really want A.J. Dillon in your lineup? Probably not. I like P. Ryan, but if Javonte Williams is fully healthy, Sean Payton does use 2 running backs, so P. Ryan's going to have some value, but not a crazy amount if Javonte is like good to go week 1. So we're going to go Antonio Gibson. I've been banging the drum for him all offseason. There is reason to believe that this offense should be a lot better under Eric Bieniemy. Again, I understand that their quarterback is still fucking Sam Howell, so it's not the best quarterback on earth, but I think Robinson is going to get a lot of the carries. Gibson's going to get a lot of the pass-catching opportunities, the third down back. Interesting spot for him in Washington with McKissick gone. So I'm a big fan of Gibson's talents. Coming out of college, last year it seemed like he was going to be sent to Azkaban. If you remember, before Brian Robinson got shot, 50 Cent style, dude, every report was like, Antonio Gibson's going to be returning punts. Antonio Gibson is not going to play. They are going to fucking lock Antonio Gibson in the doghouse and throw away the key like Kyle Shanahan to Brandon Ayuk style, if you remember that. It was looking bad. But ultimately, Antonio Gibson was able to recover from that, and he didn't get sent down to the deep depths of hell for fantasy football. So we're back up on the clock here. Could go running back again, but we're just going to lean with wide receiver. Since we don't have any Cleveland Browns on this team, and you guys know I'm a Cleveland Browns truther this season, we're going to clip my boy Elijah Moore here. Elijah Moore did leave the game against the Commanders, but it appeared to be nothing serious. So again, something to monitor, but it doesn't appear to be something serious. Again, you don't want to be chasing your injuries into the season, but it didn't seem to be that severe. He should be fine soon. If he's not fine, then obviously don't fucking draft him in the 10th round if he's not looking healthy a couple of days from now, or a couple weeks from now, right, when you're doing your draft. Again, I want pieces of this Cleveland Browns offense. Elijah Moore working as a gadget player out there in that preseason game. Now, the Jets threw him away. I don't want you anymore, right? The Jets messed up because Elijah Moore is good. He was just basically bent over a table by the fact that he was on the Jets with garbage quarterback play. And then once Rodgers showed up, they kicked him to the curb. After Elijah Moore, Buffalo Bills defense, Brandon Cooks, Cortland Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Corvette, Kadarius Toney, Jamal Williams, Zay Flowers, Rashad Master Bateman, Quentin Johnston, Michael Thomas, Slantman, Philadelphia Eagles, Odell Beckham Jr., Rashad with 2 A's, Penny, Eazy-E, Evan Ingram, Alan Lazard, and Jacoby Myers. So back up on the clock here, probably going to go wide receiver here. And sometimes these drafts, they just make things too easy, right? In 10-team leagues, I love the player Tyler Boyd. He is just not a 10-team league pick. He's a 14-team league pick, right? A deeper league pick where you draft him and, you know, if you're in a pinch, you can play him. You know, he has upside, but on a weekly basis, you don't really want him in your lineup, right? He's the number 3 behind Higgins and Chase. Now, if something was to happen to Higgins or Chase, then you just hit a fucking gold mine. But in a 10-team league, I'd rather take the shot from 3 on a guy like Sky Moore, who I think could be the number 1 receiver on this offense. I know Kadarius Toney's going to play week 1. Kadarius Toney, I hate to make fun of injuries, and I don't mean to make fun of injuries, but this guy literally gets hurt doing everything. He goes and does a slip and slide at a child's birthday. He flies off the slip and slide, goes through the fucking table where the cake is. He ruins not only the child's birthday, but his ACL is torn, right? Again, knock on wood. I'm not rooting for Kadarius Toney to get hurt, but he hasn't stayed healthy. He barely plays any snaps, and the only time he's good is when he's not playing snaps. He comes in there, and you don't even realize he's in the game, and somehow he's just caught like a ball from Pat Mahomes. There was not even anyone in the stratosphere of him, not even in Kansas City with him, and he just walks into the end zone. I think Sky Moore, again, not great numbers last year. There have been so many positive reports. He's seeing every single snap, every single rep with the first team in 2 wide receiver sets. In 2 wide receiver sets, you want to draft that. You want that. You want the guy that might be out there all the time with the greatest quarterback to ever grace earth. We ain't talking about Tom Brady, baby. And I know all the Patriots fans. Nick, you fucking cocksucker. Why are you saying that Tom Brady's not the best? No, I don't know how to do a Minnesota accent. Not Minnesota, Massachusetts accent. But you get what I mean, right? Tom Brady is the GOAT. But I think Pat Mahomes is on the path to do that. And I'm not gawking Mahomes because I'm a Chiefs fan. I like the Dolphins. So I hope Tua's the GOAT. At least that would make me happy. So after we went ahead and went with Sky with 2 Ys more, Zach Charbonnet, followed by Pat Fryer-Muth. So we're back up on the clock here. We got 3 running backs. We should probably get another. Starting to worry about Damian Harris. I think that the fact that Damian Harris is hurt kind of scares me into thinking that maybe Latavius Murray ends up getting a lot of touches. Devin 2 Chainz, his path has been cleared towards excellence now. You want to know why? Because Dalvin Cook ain't showing up. So Devin 2 Chainz is going to have a lot of upside in this offense. He's incredibly fast. You throw the ball to him. All it takes is one cut, one little do-si-do, a little shake, hit the fucking YMCA, and he's running right past your ass, zooming past you, Lightning McQueen, speed, or Jordan Addison when he's driving his dog to the vet. After Devin A-Chain, we see Samaje Perine, Romeo Dobbs, Deshaun Watson, Greg Dulcich, who seems like an awful pick right now. He is the number 2 tight end behind... I don't remember who it is that they also have there. It's like Adam Troutman or something like that. Jesus, you don't want anything to do with that. Jameson Williams, Jerick McKinnon, Rondale Moore, Damian Harris, Tyler Higbee, Elijah Mitchell, David Njoku, the Chief, Dallas Cowboys, Dickie, Dak Prescott, Chig, and DJ Chark. DJ Chark. Terrence Marshall did end up getting hurt. They carted him off, but that's why these training camp injuries are the worst. They say he's been carted off. And then it's like the next report 20 minutes later is, oh, he kind of got on the cart himself. He's sitting next to the driver. He's not in the back fucking with his eye, crying in the back with the thing over his eyes, right? Like when players actually get hurt. No, he just sat in the cart next to the guy. Now again, or the girl, the trainer, whatever gender they were, right? Now again, this isn't a guarantee that it's nothing serious, but it's a little bit more promising, right? Not like one of those, oh my gosh, Marshall is on the ground, his knee buckled, he's not moving, right? Those are the ones where it's like, okay, things are bad. Then again, Rachaad White, that seemed bad, and Rachaad White says he's fine, so we'll see kind of how that thing shakes out. So we got 4 running backs. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receivers. So we're going to go running back and receiver to close things out here. I'm going to go with Tank. I love Tank Bigsby this season. I've talked him up a ton. I don't believe in ETN. I think ETN might get a decent amount of carries. He might get a decent amount of receptions, but he sucked at catching the ball last year. That's why people liked him out of college. Can't catch the ball. He's in an offense that's projected to be really good with the Jaguars. Again, I drafted 2 players on the Jaguars. This is something I'm talking about in videos. If I thought the Jaguars were to be dust, they were going to suck, then I'm not drafting 2 players on the Jaguars. But I like the Jaguars, so I'm fine drafting Tank and him. Both could be the number 1 running back and the number 1 receiver on the team. Again, I'm not saying that's guaranteed to happen, but when you're taking shots deep in drafts, you want to take the shot on the guy with that upside. After Tank, Tua, and Anthony Richardson, again, even if Tank can't take over for ETN, if ETN was to go down, knock on wood, then we would see huge value out of Tank. So we're going to go receiver here. Normally, Nico Collins is just a insta-smash here, pause. But again, I try to differentiate things as we get deeper on into the draft. We haven't drafted much Hunter Renfrow. They're talking about a Renfrow might end up getting cut. The fact that they have Jacoby Myers makes Renfrow like a guy that I don't really want to draft at all. But if he was to go to a different team or something like that, Renfrow could be good. I mean, I know Renfrow didn't have a good year last year, but remember 2021, this guy was a top 12 receiver in fantasy. So maybe it's an anomaly. Maybe it's Fugazi. Maybe he has that one crazy season. He's a one-year wonder. But I don't know. I think he's a little bit better than that. Could go with Mingo. Let's just go with one of these Panthers receivers. A lot of them are gone. We'll go with Mingo. Another guy with like a porn star name. Could be the number 1 receiver on the team eventually. I just like taking shots on rookies late, right? Again, he might just be a cut candidate 3 weeks into the season. I cut him, pick someone else up, or maybe Mingo develops into this great receiver in this Carolina Panthers offense with Bryce Young. After Jonathan Mingo, we see Jeff Wilson followed by Raheem Mostert, back-to-back Dolphins, followed by Donta Foreman, Devin Singletary, Kendra Miller, Dalton Schultz, Jalen Warren, Roshan Johnson, bunch of kickers, bunch of defenses, Adam Thielen, Tyler Algier, Kenny Gainwell, and Darnell. Here comes the Mooney. So we're going to go with a kicker and a defense at this spot. First up, go with the kicker. We're going to go with Harrison Butker here. Right now, I'm not debating kickers with you. If you want to, go ahead and do it in the comment section. But for defenses, we are going to draft a defense playing up against a not-so-hot opponent week 1. That is the strategy. Say the Jets are available right now, right? I think the Jets are going to be the best defense in the NFL. Sure, you might think that. Fair assumption. Sauce Gardner, this, that, and the other thing, right? They're great. But what you want to do is understand that the Jets' schedule to open the season is hard. They play the Bills week 1. The Ravens might not be as great of a defense. Might get pounded out by some offenses, right? Mia Malkova style. But against the Texans, the Ravens defense is going to look like the fucking 85 Bears. Now, every year or every couple years, there's a defense that, even if they're going up against the greatest combination, the John Madden All-Stars, they're great. The Bears a couple years ago, right? But not every year that happens. And how are you going to know that you're going to just magically draft that defense? And don't reach for them in like the 9th round like some people will. Wait until the last round. We got the Ravens. And guess what? Whenever the Ravens play whoever they play week 2, maybe it's not an ideal matchup. I don't even remember. You just cut them. You find a new defense. I make videos every single week during the season on which defenses to stream. I'm going to make a defenses to draft video a couple of weeks from now before you guys do your draft. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great one. Our team got a B+, 87 out of 100. Our quarterback was Hurts. Our running backs were Bijan Robinson and Tony Pollard. Our receivers were Calvin Ridley and Wiki DJ Moore. Our tight end is Dallas Goedert. Our flex is Christian Watson and Deontay Johnson. Our defense is the Ravens. Our kicker is Harrison Butker. Our bench is Elijah Moore, Antonio Gibson, Sky with 2 eyes more for me on the team. Devin, 2 chains, a chain, Tank Bigsby, and Jonathan Mingo. Let me know down below in the comment section what you thought about this team. Again, we'll be live on Sunday for 10 to 12 hours. We're going to be alive for longer than fucking Chris Hansen is live on Sunday, baby. We're going to have a great time doing some underdog drafts, talking to the chat, bunch of guest lineups, still lining some more up. I love you guys from the deep depths of my heart. I hope you have a great one. And as always, good boy. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Good boy.